Today, with our minds still on Halloween, we celebrate the glory of the saints in heaven. And the readings all speak to that today. It talks about two different worlds. It talks about the one we're living in now and the one we will one day live in forever. And I think so often we can become so consumed with the one we live in now because we're in it and we experience everything within it that we might forget about the one in which we might one day live. There's a story about a man who was walking down the street and he saw in this little storefront, it said, "Cruise, $100 cash." And he thought this was a pretty good deal, a cruise for $100. So he walked into this storefront and he's talking with the man and he says, "Is this right? I get to take a cruise 3 days, 4 nights for $100 cash." And the man said it was. So he took a crisp $100 bill out of his pocket, he slammed it down on the desk, and he said, "I'm in. Where's my cruise?" The next thing he knows, he got knocked out. And when he finally came to, he's floating down this river in a barrel. And written on the barrel is the word cruise. And to his left is another guy in a barrel, and that guy says, "Do you know if they serve a meal on this cruise?" And he looked over and he said, "They didn't last year." How is it that we get so stuck? We fall again and again and again. I mean, we say we want to be saints, right? We're really trying to live the life. And yet I can give the most eloquent homily in the world that even Benedict XVI could come in here and very clearly give the most wonderful teaching. It would draw us all to silent wonder. That we could go and attend an amazing retreat, maybe even take a trip to the Holy Land or some other great place in the world. And then we come back and we stay the same. We might have changed a little, we might treat people a little differently for some time, but then we begin to regress. And we have 1,000 excuses, and they're really all good excuses. I'm surrounded by people who didn't go on the retreat, and so it's hard to live this way. Or I'm living in the world, and so I can't live like a saint. It's impossible. Or even the saints had their issues back then. They struggled a lot. And like I said, they're all good excuses. But it ain't helping us then. We're not any closer to sanctity than we were before. And so what we do is we wear these masks, sort of like some did last night. Last night was the first time I could be with my nieces and nephews on trick-or-treat night in a long time. And my little niece, Sophia, she went through phases. She's 3 years old. And at first she wanted to be a fairy ballerina. And then after the fairy ballerina, she wanted to be a dancer zombie of some type, a princess zombie. So finally we're trick-or-treating and she gets to the door and the woman says, "Oh, you are as cute as can be." And she didn't know what she was. And Sophia says to her, "You know what I want to be for Halloween?" And the woman said, "What?" And she went, "Rah!" Just like that. Precious. But I thought about that and I thought, how many of us wear masks too? We do the same thing. We act like somebody we aren't most of the time so we can protect the person we are. We know the person we want to be, but that's too far outside of our comfort zone, so we wear this mask. You see, the readings tonight are about two worlds. St. John says in his letter, we do not know what one day we will be. But we are God's children now. That's what's important. We are God's children now. That even the first reading from Revelation talks about the end. I'm going to tell you a little secret. We're not going to live forever. Sometimes that's harder to tell younger people. And yet we know that even the young go at unexpected times. But this is not bad news. Because we're not meant for this world. We're meant for the next. This is only temporary. And so we're not going to live forever, and yet we spend most of our time deciding, who who I'm going to be when I grow up or what I'm going to do. What we do is not as important as who we are. Because we're going to do something. What we do is not as important as who we are. But I would propose this, that what we want to be now is not as important as what we want to be after we die. I wonder if we ever think about that. What do I want to be when I grow up? What do I want to be? What do I want to be after I die? I want to be a saint. That's the goal. To be in heaven is to be a saint. And there are many saints that are named in the canon, and our relatives may not be named in the canon, but if we're sure they're in heaven, they're saints. That's our goal. So I think the question we need to ask is, what do I want to be after I die? And that should dictate who we are right now. St. John says it hasn't yet been determined. But right now we are God's children. And so we look at the Beatitudes in the Gospel. It's talking about this life and the life to come. Blessed are you who mourn here, because here you will be consoled. Blessed are you who are hungry here, because here you will be satisfied. He even goes on to say, blessed are you when they insult you and persecute you and utter every kind of slander against you because of me. Rejoice and be glad, because you're on your way to being a saint. That's what this is all about. And so in the midst of all of our excuses not to change, in the midst of listening and coming and worshiping in church, in going on retreats and all those things that free us up for about a week to take off our mask and be the people God created us to be, in the midst of all that, we have an opportunity tonight. When is a good time to change? Yesterday. Now is the moment. Now is the opportune time. Not to look at our life and say, who do I want to be? But to look at life after life and ask, what do I want to be there? And if I want to be a saint, because I don't think anyone, the opposite, the other option is incomprehensible. If I want to be a saint one day, then I have to start right here in living my life. That tonight we don't focus so much on who I am or who I want to be here, but the person I will one day be and the road that I will travel to get there.